fear can disguise itself as standards. Are we telling you to not have standards? No. But when you're in the subconscious self-protective mode, it doesn't feel like sabotage, but they're actually shielding, and not shielding you from real and imminent danger, but shielding you from the very love that you want. Welcome to Love Chat with the Love Twins. We've got one of those topics that I've just been waiting for, because it actually, for those of you who were with us last week on the Be Beautifully You Challenge, it was really a powerful experience. For those of you who were in VIP especially, a lot got unlocked and women really came away with freedom. That's the word. Freedom from anything that maybe has been stopping you from truly being the woman that you are, the woman you are meant to be. And so this is just a perfect follow-up to everything that we discussed last week. And today, when I was reading and preparing my notes for today's love chat, I really heard the echoes of some of the things that we talked about last week and a lot of the things that we talk about with our clients. So I want to go ahead and jump in. If you're here, it's because you do want love. You do want to share your life with the right person, not just any old kind of love. You want what we call real love. And I'm going to start by saying something that could feel confronting. I said this last week in the challenge. If you feel triggered by something, that's just a sign something is resonating. Now, some people feel triggered and they run away. And some people feel triggered and they get interested. And some people don't do anything. They just freeze. I'm going to ask you to lean in and get interested when I say this, because while it can be confronting, it can also be very freeing, liberating. So you can genuinely, honestly, with all of your heart, want love. You can be very self-aware. You can be emotionally intelligent. You can be a woman who really values herself. And you can still subconsciously be pushing love away every single day, every single week. The thing is that these subconscious saboteurs, these subconscious things that you're saying and doing, and even the way that you're being, you're not doing it in very big or obvious ways. These sabotaging behaviors are subtle. And more importantly than them being subtle, the word that's coming to my mind is tricky, meaning they disguise themselves as something else to have you feel strong. These subtle ways, they might feel like strength, like you're being strong and powerful. It can feel like maturity. It can feel like, I'm just being smart. But the subtle patterns that I'm talking about, they quietly create distance between you and the exact kind of love that you say that you want. And we call that your heart's desire. So basically, you're pushing away the love that you say that you want, and then you're left wondering why it's not coming to you with ease. It leaves you feeling confused because you're wondering, well, I know that I want this and I know it's important to me. I really do want to share my life with the right person, but it's not happening with ease. You're not attracting that kind of love. You might be attracting the very opposite of it. So tonight we're going to expose 3 micro protection behaviors that keep showing up. And because these things happen subconsciously, right now, if you are multitasking and you can stop, I would invite you to do that, because I'm telling you, there's going to be a part of your brain that's going to resist this conversation out of pure protection, a defensive mechanism, a protective strategy that's been put into place. So if you can stop for just the next few minutes, I would highly recommend that, because there is going to be some unconscious resistance. So these micro protection behaviors that keep showing up many times without you realizing it, or disguising themselves as something else. So they might make you feel strong, but they're actually shielding, and not shielding you from real and imminent danger, but shielding you from the very love that you want. Another micro protection that we're going to talk about is the I'm fine alone story. That sounds very confident on the surface, but really what's underneath it is fear and doubt. And then there's also the way that fear can disguise itself as standards. Like I said, are we telling you to not be smart and safe? No. Are we telling you to not be confident? No. Are we telling you to not have standards? No. But when you're in the subconscious self-protective mode, that micro protection mode, it doesn't feel like sabotage, but your results, the results that you're creating, just look at the results without judging yourself. They're showing you, they're giving you information. So do not judge yourself. Just allow this conversation to be information that you can choose. You have 100% choice. You can choose if you're ready to make a real change, if you're ready to stop these subconscious behaviors and take on not just not doing the behaviors, but let's get underneath what's actually causing them to be there in the first place. Self-awareness is the first step to transformation. It is not a breakthrough and it is not transformation, but it really is the first step. You must be aware of what's not working, what's working, what's not working, particularly what's not working, so that you can create a real change, a real transformation. So let's talk about the first micro protection mode, the first way that women push love away. This is what it looks like. So it's overthinking. You're in your head. You don't make a choice, a decision, because you're over analyzing and you feel like you're spinning, right? And then you exhaust yourself. And so you don't make any decision because you're just so tired from everything that you're telling yourself and wait, stop, but what about, and all these worst case scenarios. So another one is staying too busy, really, really busy, where there's very little room in your calendar. And you can just look at your calendar right now. And even if it doesn't have appointments, how much time have you dedicated to truly being in committed action for your love life? Staying very busy, too busy, doesn't allow time and space for love to make its way to you. Another way is being overly independent. I know that I'm speaking to self-sufficient, strong women, but being overly, I didn't say you can't be independent. I said overly independent, meaning I don't need anyone, whether you say it or not with your lips. The energy, the vibe that you're giving is that you don't need or want anyone in your life. And what that says to a man is there's no space here there's nothing I can contribute here. Not that he wants to take over, not that he wants to control, he wants to add to your life. And then another micro protection pattern is emotionally detaching. And I would say prematurely in order to feel like you're not losing your power or your control. So I'm going to give you some examples of each thing, but each of these micro protection modes, whether it's staying too busy, overthinking, being overly independent, or emotionally detaching to the place where whether you recognize it or not, the other person senses a shutdown. Those things are actually the way that your nervous system, your subconscious and your nervous system are trying to keep you safe. So let me give you some other examples because I told you, right? I warned you. I pre-told that there's going to be some resistance to this. So you're maybe saying, I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this. So just a couple more examples or a few more examples. So it can look like this. Instead of enjoying the conversation, you're over analyzing everything that is being said or done on a date or on a phone call. Or you might even be doing it with the messages you're getting on your phone, on the app, or in your text messages. You're over analyzing it to see what's happening. Maybe if what you've been attracting is a lot of men who are not honest, or men who don't have high integrity or high character, you're already looking for the evidence of that. So what it does is it takes you out of the present moment where you're not able to enjoy moments of actual connection. Now, before you actually know the person, it's just enjoying the process of getting to know them. If you're getting easily frustrated, easily irritated, and it could be because you're attracting that kind of man, and we're going to talk about how to break that pattern too. But just remember, this is an invitation to be introspective, right? To implement some introspection. Where am I over analyzing every message, everything that's said, everything that's done, looking for evidence of what I'm afraid of? Does that take me out of the fun and the ease and the actual process of getting to know someone? And so it's not allowing me to create connection. And then as you get to know each other, better intimacy, real intimacy. And I'm talking about emotional intimacy first, right? So that's the first thing. Another way, like I said before, is you keep your calendar so full. And I want you to have a full life, because again, your brain will go, what does she want me to do? Stay at home, just be on the apps? That's the resistance I was talking about. That little voice that's analyzing, over analyzing, and overthinking everything that I'm saying is exactly what I'm talking about. Because here's someone who's just wanting to give to you, who's wanting to serve and provide you with what over 30, it's going to be 36 years of doing this kind of work with women. So I can tell you that when I say that it's subtle and it's sneaky and it disguises itself, I'm not kidding, because that is what the brain does. It just does that. And your nervous system has learned to fall into these patterns very, very automatically. So keeping your calendar so full that dating becomes an inconvenience, like you see it as an interruption to your life. That could be a way. Look, I've seen this because we do attract so many spiritually aware women with retreats and church and service, like serving others, even in your own business. Am I saying don't go to church? Because again, I'm going to do this often because I am literally talking to the voice in your head that's trying to shut my voice down, right? Because I want you to have a breakthrough, at least the opening to a breakthrough. So if you keep yourself so involved in serving others and doing and doing and doing, there is no space to allow yourself to receive. So when you're in doing mode, in that busy mode, you're usually doing something. When you allow yourself to receive, it can feel, even when it's great, love, attention, admiration, affection, it can feel so unfamiliar to your nervous system that you actually do not feel comfortable with it yet. So those are some ways that the calendar full, the overanalysis, and then also, like I was talking before, the overly independent. So I'm very proud that I am a self-sufficient woman. I actually several times during the day will, when I figure something out, or if I shoot a video for you and then I edit it, I do thank God for the skills and having the mental capacity to do that, because I know that there's people who would be overwhelmed by the number of technological things I do. So I'm not talking about wanting to be dependent on other people for everything. I delegate to my team, but there's also things that I get to do. I am very, very capable of making myself a cup of coffee. I am very, very thankful that my husband makes me one every day. Right? So the over independence where you pride yourself on not needing anyone, it can be a catch-22, because if you want to share your life with the right person, the right people, friends, family included, colleagues, but especially when it comes to love and relationships, if you want to share your life with the right person, and you're being so overly independent that your energy, whether your voice says it or not, your energy is sending the message, I don't need anyone. You're literally sending two conflicting messages, which means you're probably getting the messy stuff in the middle, right? I want love and I don't need anyone. I want love and I don't want people interrupting my life, my freedom. It gets blurry. And then the other thing is detaching emotionally. As soon as you feel the smallest, tiniest level of uncertainty, you detach and you block. You block, you cancel, or you refuse to give the man that you're getting to know a real chance at getting to know you. If there's almost no grace for humanity, for imperfections, right? And I always say, you want to grant the grace you want granted to you when you're the one who sticks your foot in it or says the wrong thing or makes a mistake. Okay. So the tricky part of this is that none of these things look or sound like sabotage. They look like, I'm just being smart. I'm just being careful. I'm just focusing on my business, on my career. I'm just not desperate, which is great. We don't want you to be desperate, because desperation is just more fear and it's not attractive at all. It'll sound like I'm just discerning or I'm following my intuition. And we do teach women how to distinguish between intuition and fear. But I want to say this very plainly. Sometimes being careful is about being fearful. You're anticipating something going wrong. So you're constantly preparing for it. You're not even anticipating, expecting it. So you're preparing for it. Your nervous system is bracing itself for the disappointment. So there's a guardedness about you. Sometimes being really busy is about avoidance. It's about avoiding connecting, right? I've said this before. When you write the word, you could do it now. When you write the word intimacy, so if you write that right now, INTIMACY, and then you put a box or you circle the first 5 letters of the word intimacy says in time, because how you create connection is in time. How you really get to know someone is in time. How you know if a person is the right person for you, it's in time. So if you're constantly busy, you're avoiding being in time, being intimate. And then being independent, super independent, is really about armor, creating a protective barrier between you and yourself that doesn't allow other people in. So I got to do a check. Like, if this is resonating, just go ahead and put an R so I know that it's resonating. Maybe you're starting to see, like, wow, there are some things that I'm doing that could be sending the message that I don't want love, when really in my heart I do. I want the connection, I want the love, I want the intimacy, I want real partnership. So if it's resonating, just go ahead. Okay, I see some R's in the chat. All of these things, the protection, the armor, the being careful, the avoidance in not being intimate, right? Not making time for real love and connection. If you've been hurt, if you've been disappointed, if you've been betrayed or emotionally abandoned, where you felt rejected or left before, then your body, your mind, and your nervous system, they have learned to protect you. They don't want you to feel that again. And so at the slightest hint, sign of something, it goes, right? The shutdown occurs, the distance occurs, you're not really available occurs. And that's why you keep attracting unavailability, because you're not really available for the love that you say that you want. And you didn't become this way because there's something wrong with you, because you're not meant to have love. None of that is true. This is simply how you have adapted to the disappointment, to the discouragement, to the pain that love has cost you in the past. So you put these protective measures in place. Think of it like electric fences or titanium strength walls. They're in the way so that you can't hurt me. But the thing is that if it's not just protecting you from pain, it's actually distancing you from the love that you want. And also, while in a moment of disappointment or betrayal, it makes sense to want to protect yourself, what protected you in the past can quietly be blocking and stopping intimacy right now. So the issue is not being safe and not being smart. It's that you're using protective measures when perhaps they are not required. And so having that fence and having that wall up is just keeping out the very love that you say that you want. And that can lead to feeling lonely. It can lead to be feeling frustrated. It can lead to feeling like this isn't happening for me. Love isn't working for me. I'm not meant for love. And we don't want the brain to do that, because guess what that is? Maybe I'm just not meant to be in a relationship is more avoidance. That's all it is. Because why not? Getting to the answer to that question, why not? Why aren't you meant to be in a relationship? That's the conversation I want to have with you, because that's the one that's actually causing all of this in the first place. Okay. That's a real conversation. Thinking that maybe you're not cut out to be in a relationship, or you're not meant to be in a loving relationship. And some people say, God doesn't want me, or the universe doesn't want me to be in a relationship. My question to you is, why not? Why not you? Because the answer to that question is at the root and at the basis of all of this. It really is what's causing all of this in the first place. So here's another question. By the way, it is a conversation I want to have with those of you who are not clients, because if you really do want to break this, it really does make sense to find a way to work with us. I'm going to tell you how to do that in just a few minutes. But if you are tired of this, if you're starting to see something and it's starting to open your eyes to the fact, like, I didn't even know I was sabotaging myself, and now that I know I'm sabotaging myself, I don't know how to stop. And I wish that it's enough to, and I am going to give you some steps, of course, here, but I wish it was enough to do it in 20. Well, now I've got 6 minutes, right? And the truth is that these are ingrained patterns, years, decades of protection, of disappointment, of not having the experience that you want to love. And so it does take what we call taking a loving deep dive into it, so that it never again, what if never again, ever again, could your nervous system and your subconscious sabotage your love life? Not making them wrong, they're just trying to keep you safe. But what if these sabotaging patterns disappeared forever? Like, how amazing would it be? And what if it didn't take years? What if it didn't even have to take 6 months? Would that be worth exploring with us? I absolutely think it does. And so I think it is, and I think you're worth it. I think you're worth it. I think your happiness. We've worked with women, there were women who gave their testimonial last week, and to see someone who at 67 years old was getting married for the very first time after, in her words, 40 years of disappointing dating, of not really feeling connected to any of the men that she had attracted, and protecting herself. Another woman who we just posted on the Hearts Desire Sister Circle, 75 years old, getting married. It's so easy to give up. And it's so easy to say, well, it's just not for me. And I can just be busy, and I have friends, and I have family, and I have a life. And that's great. Keep doing that and share that life with an amazing man. So that's what the rest of this very fast conversation. So I want to ask you a question. I already asked you, why not? Why do you feel like you might not be cut out for love and relationships based on what's happened in the past? Another question is, where are you staying in control instead of staying open? Because overthinking is about control. It's about trying to control the outcome, control what he's thinking, what he's going to say, what I'm going to say, what I'm going to do, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. That's what overthinking is about. Not making a mistake, getting it right. It's all about control. Busyness, staying overly busy, is about control. It's about controlling how much in time I have with you, I have for myself, I have for others. And emotional attachment is also about control, because I'm controlling just how close you're able to get to me, if at all. The real me, the authentic me. So it's all about trying to control your thoughts, trying to control your emotions and your actions, but control doesn't create connection, ever. Real love requires openness. There is a difference between controlling your thoughts and mastering them. There's a difference between controlling your emotions and mastering your emotions. About trying to control how you react and respond, and actually being masterful at not allowing other people to trigger you, not allowing circumstances or situations to take you off course. It's a different skill set. Control is all about protection. Mastery is about openness and allowing. And that really is what we teach. We teach women how to master their thoughts, their emotions, how to master the reaction, the responses, so that you're not reacting, but you're responding to someone, responding to a situation, responding to a circumstance, even the ones that don't make you so happy. So I'm not talking about being reckless. I'm not talking about ignoring red flags. That's actually the opposite of what we teach. That's neither smart nor safe. I'm talking about openness, having an open heart, an open mind, open life to receive and welcome in the love that you desire. And if you're giving men limited access to your time and absolutely no access to your heart, you can build this wall of resistance, but you can't build the kind of relationship you say you want. So I already talked a little bit about the I'm fine alone, but I want to talk about that just a little bit more because we tend to hear it a lot with strong, independent women. It's extremely common. So you are fine alone. Being okay with being alone is actually healthy. Your relationship with yourself and your ability to be with yourself is critical to creating a healthy, loving relationship. So I'm not talking about needing a relationship to feel worthy, but there's a difference between I'm whole on my own and I don't need anyone. I don't want anyone. I don't want anyone to threaten my independence or the life that I've built. Well, there's already a fear that love means somebody's going to take away your independence. Someone's going to take away the love that the life that you've built. That's why I'm saying that fear and control are really what's running the show. And then I'm fine alone becomes a coping strategy, a way to protect your heart from actually wanting something that your brain, your subconscious, and your nervous system fear might hurt again. And it usually comes from an old decision where you decided love isn't safe, men don't stay, I have to handle everything myself. Every time I depend on someone else, it leads to disappointment. So you build a life where you don't need much from anyone, which you might say on the surface, it looks successful. It can look mature. But that's only on the surface. But when you look at it emotionally, it creates that invisible and impenetrable wall because real partnership requires interdependence, not codependence, not isolation and absolute independence. It requires interdependence where I am here for you and myself, and you are here for me and yourself. So I'm strong and I allow support. I'm capable and I receive. I know how to receive. I'm whole and I desire real connection with another whole human being. So I've asked you 2 thought-provoking questions and hopefully heart-provoking questions, right? Why not you? And the second question was, where are you staying in control instead of staying open? The third question I want to ask you is, are you truly open to partnership or are you attached to the identity of not needing anyone? Because if your nervous system believes that love is something you can take it or leave it, like it's optional, but it's not truly a desire of your heart, and there's a difference between desire and desperation. Desperation comes from fear that you're not going to get what you want. Desire comes from a commitment to having what you want. But if you see love as something that's unattainable or I'm better off alone, then you'll keep deprioritizing it without realizing it. Okay. It's not a conscious choice. Everything that I'm talking about right now, you're having a conscious moment because I'm talking about it. But all of this stuff is happening in a split second without you thinking about it. And the last thing that I'll talk about is this fear that masquerades as standards. Standards are important. We talk a lot in our work about being clear about your values, your vision and your values, and creating personal boundaries for yourself. So I'm not talking about not having any standards. Standards are important. It's important for you to have your personal standards, your personal boundaries. But there's a difference between standards and walls. There's a difference between standards, which are for you, and criteria or rules and expectations, which are for somebody else. There is a difference between standards and boundaries, which are for you. They're your standards and they're your boundaries. And criteria, rules, and expectations, which are about somebody else. The rules are for somebody else. The expectations are for somebody else. The criteria is for somebody else. If it's about somebody else, that's not a standard and that's not a boundary. Standards are grounded and they're clear. Walls are hypercritical and reactive. So standard sounds like I desire emotional availability, consistency, shared values. That's a standard. Walls, rules, expectations sounds like if he's not perfect, I'm out. If he makes that mistake, he's not my person. He has to be blank or have blank or like blank, or he's not the right man for me. See how that's outward focused? And then here's how fear shows up. It calls itself, I'm being discerning. It calls itself discernment, but it's actually scanning for danger. Like the person with the metal detector, you're on a date, you're on the app, you're looking at a text, you're on the phone, scanning for danger. Guess what? You're going to find it. There's a saying in Spanish, I'm sure there's one in English too, that says, look for it and you're going to find it. So what starts to happen is you start to disqualify men very quickly. He texted too slow. He texted too fast. He's too eager. He's not eager enough. He's successful, but not my kind of successful. He's kind, but I don't know, kind of boring. Sometimes these things could be pointing to real misalignment, but other times, most of the time, it's just your nervous system trying to prevent you from being vulnerable. So I want to give you a key distinction. Healthy standards feel calm. There's a peace about your standards for yourself. Fear-based expectations feel tight. contracted. They're outward focused, so they don't feel peaceful. So if you have a constant, you feel like you have a constant need to protect yourself, to evaluate, to analyze, to stay one step back, that is not discernment. That's protection. That's guarding yourself. So you want to ask yourself, am I present and open? Am I coming truly from my desire? Am I coming from fear? Because you can have high standards without being emotionally closed off. You really can. So I've given you some really, this actually could be a 90-minute masterclass. It could actually be a whole course. As a matter of fact, it is. We have a program that is all about how to master your thoughts and master your emotions and master the way that you choose to respond, your ways of being, your actions, so that you are not constantly being dysregulated and controlled by your fear, so that you're not always on the lookout for what's wrong and you can actually start attracting what's right. Because if you do not get a handle on these subconscious saboteurs, they are what has been and what will continue choosing for you. And I'm not prophesying anything, putting anything bad into your existence, because you can see the results. What you've been doing and how you've been operating simply haven't been giving you the results that you want. Otherwise, you would be in the happy, loving relationship. So what about if right now you could make a choice that turns that around and actually has you welcoming the love that you want with ease, with peace, not being in that high alert, the red alert all the time, waiting for something terrible to happen. We really do get to look at what is causing those things to be there in the first place. If you've been resonating with what I've been talking about today, if you've been resonating with being in micro protection mode and sending that mixed signal of I want love, but I can't let someone get too close because I'm going to get hurt. And if you've been really reacting to even the possibility of love with fear, with anxiety, then you absolutely want to make sure that you join us in the Ready for Love Now program. This program was created at the peak of when people's nervous systems were completely dysregulated, which was right when the pandemic was at its highest. It had actually just started. And we started asking women, what is it that you want? And women started really opening their hearts to us to say, I'm so tired of being afraid. I'm so tired of being hypervigilant. At that point, people were afraid they weren't going to meet anyone because we were being told we couldn't leave our homes. And yet in our program, in this specific program, women were meeting the men that today they are married to. Today they are married, happily married. They met the men in a time when the whole world was saying you couldn't have love. And that's one thing that you'll get to learn about Michelle and myself is what the world is saying and what typical people say is possible or isn't possible. That doesn't register with us. We're all about how can you easily create the love that you want in spite of whatever's happened in the past. And the best way that we know to do that in the shortest amount of time is in the Ready for Love Now program. It is a 12-week program. In that program, you literally learn how to do everything that I have been saying on today's love chat, which is how to master, not control, not try to bring down your thoughts, how to master your thinking so that you are releasing yourself from the past and the sabotaging behaviors that have been really preventing you from having the love that you want. How do you master your emotions so that you're not constantly being impacted and influenced by what somebody says or does, or a text message or a chat, a call that didn't happen? How do you master your emotions and stay in a peaceful, loving, open state so that the wrong falls away and what's aligned with you comes to you easily? And how do you create such a strong relationship with yourself that you become that woman who is not only confident, and I'm not talking about that fake confidence I was talking about before, but that you are certain in yourself, you feel empowered in your power, no matter what is happening, because as your competence in dating and relationships and the mastery of your thinking and your emotions, as your competence goes up, so does your confidence. And that's what has it feel easy and fun, effortless. And then, of course, we're going to teach you how to date with inside of this beautiful, light, that open state. We call it a way of being. We call it your irresistible essence. It's a magnetic pull where you're magnetizing and drawing to yourself what is aligned with you, and whatever isn't is naturally falling away. Just like if I held a paper in front of a magnet, it would just fall because it doesn't have the same energy, right? It doesn't have that magnetic energy. So how do you do this easily? How do you do it effortlessly? How do you do it with our guidance? Direct coaching from Michelle, myself, and our lead coach is in the Ready for Love Now program. And you're going to learn how to date with ease. You're going to learn how to create that interdependent, real intimate relationship that you get to be in for the rest of your life. It is one of our most successful programs. I love it because we get to spend 3 months together. That means that you will be in the relationship of your dreams before the summer. You will be. And I'm saying will be, and your brain just said, how did she know that? She doesn't know me. I've tried other things before. What about all the programs I've done? I'm telling you, do this program. Give yourself the openness that I was talking about to be guided, to receive our guidance, to receive our coaching. And 12 weeks from today, you could be in the most loving, happy relationship that you've ever been, more beyond what you could dream or imagine. And I can say that with certainty because we've just seen so many people, so many women create that. So there's a link in the chat. Click on that link. If you've got any questions at all, and say, I have a question about this. I'm not sure if this will work for me. Do you think, this is happening in my life, or this, and this has happened? Do you think this can work for me? And I promise you that me or someone on my team will get back to you. We will not leave that message just sitting out there. We will actually get in touch with you, have a conversation with you, and see how we can support you in stepping in, because the program is about to start in March and you do not want to be left out. I mean, this is the last week in February. We've got 4 more days in February. Do not cancel yourself out. Do not count yourself out. This really can be the year that you get to finally be in the loving relationship of your dreams. So go to getreadyforlovenow.com, getreadyforlovenow.com, grab your spot. You can either do a full pay, you can do a partial pay, 3 payments. And if you're still unsure, reach out to us and we will absolutely have a conversation with you and tell you whether or not we feel that this is the right choice for you. We're not going to have you be in a program that's not the right choice for you. Okay? All right, ladies. I told you it was a good one. I told you it was a good topic. Thank you for spending time with me here. And no matter what has happened, no matter what's happening right now, I want you to know that you know that you know that the love that you want is possible for you. It's 100% possible. And all it takes is one choice to stop what hasn't been working and start learning what does. And I really, really cannot wait to welcome you into the Ready for Love Now program. Have a beautiful evening. And until our hearts meet again, always remember that you are loved. Bye for now.